Hello everyone. So we're going to start off by adding this a little bit to the lower hull. We don't want to cake it on too much because all the pictures I've seen don't show these getting too muddy, more dusty than muddy. Unless of course they get stuck, but that's not normal. So it is an acrylic paste medium by Vallejo. Which I'm going to take the turret off. And we got the crew 2 days early. Oh, that's right, I put a bunch of crap inside so I wouldn't lose it. Come on, where'd you go? There it is. Alright. Where were we? Alright, so just following the direction of rotation from the tires. And what this does is, even under the washes and the dust that we'll put on via airbrush, it'll add that little texture that you need that shows some damp or wet mud and soil that have been thrown up onto the hull. But we're not going for a completely mud-encrusted look. It'll get thrown onto the back of the propellers there too. And a little bit right through here. Since these are the steering tires, we can go a little bit off-center with that. And maybe add a little to the underside, because, yep, the stowage got dirty. And you'll see how all this is going to start to build up. So we're going to put this on, and we're going to give it a little time to dry. It does take a little longer than regular paint to dry. But we've got something to do in the meantime. Now I believe it's, I think it's micro balloons that are in this to give it the texture to help with it, because it feels very gritty when you put it between your fingers. Like say you get it on your hands, you got to clean something up. You can definitely feel a grit to it. We'll give it a little bit out to here. Back down in there and mixed in so it can be reconstituted. I gotta wipe off the brush real quick. Overdid it. And there goes my paper towel. Never mind. As far as the light on my face, it'll be gone soon enough. The sun's setting, so it's gonna be shining in. Yeah, I guess you could say we're just painting with poopy. So again, we're not trying to be perfect with this. This is all, again, it's a tool. It's not the end result, right? This is just to add the texture. And the same with these. We're just going to add a little bit to the tires. You'll see. Hey Aries, how you doing? We're adding the underlying texture for the dirt and other effects using the thick mud. Yeah. I'm tired of letting tired win, so I'm trying to push past it today. And we'll see about tomorrow, too. And after that. Alright, so let me get a lot of this back down in there, so it doesn't dry out up there and go to waste. So while we're waiting for the layer of poop to dry, we're going to assemble the crew. At least 3 of the figures that came in the set. Good thing I just used this brush for dry brushing, because this stuff does not come out very clean. So this came today. I'm going to use at least these 3. That'll be the driver, gunner, commander. Yeah, I couldn't find any indication of a... Hey, Fenrir. I couldn't find any indication of a infantry box or an infantry phone on the LAV, so I'll save that guy for something else. And I might put this guy with the LAV7. We'll see. This set is by Mini Art. I've never really worked... Why did my table vibrate? Okay, one moment. All right. Let's give these guys a quick look-see, shall we? So here's the map holder, so we're not using him. But we'll use this as an example of the details. Very good representation of the molly webbing on the vest there. It's just a different way of hanging ammo pouches and mag pouches and other things. Helmet looks really nice. Separate mouthpiece. Yeah, these should paint up nicely. Here's the infantry. Again, we're not using him. Really nice M16 with an ACOG. There we go. Autofocus is fighting today, I see. Ah, there we go. We might use him as practice on imitating Marpat and Desert Marpat. So these two will be saving. Okay. I think that's the one I wanted to use as driver? Let me see. Yeah, this guy will be driver. So we'll get him together first and make sure the arms and everything are sitting right. So that way he can fit in his hatch. I know, it's weird me being on a Monday afternoon. Okay, it's his helmet strap hanging down. I got it now. But from what I can tell, Mini Art does some very nice figures. Using the parts breakdown, I want to say started by Dragon back in the day. And mimicked by everybody else. Thought I could fit my cutters in there. Guess I can't. But I hope everybody had an okay weekend, or at least a nice one. Mine went by too quick. Oh yeah, it was only one day. I did some looking around. It looks like the coveralls were only khaki or olive drab. We're going to go with khaki ones on this. And I have a goal, too. If I don't stream more, I won't be able to do it. Because every little bit helps right now. So I really need to get off my own ass. Motherfucker. Even if it means being on my ass more. But in a good way. Just to make sure. Yep, his torso will fit. But yeah, I'm kind of getting tired of letting tired win, like you were saying earlier. So I really am going to start pushing myself a little bit more. And like right now I've got a headache, but I've got to start doing something, man. Or else this is going to go nowhere and die. Probably going to leave the top of the helmet and the little stuff off for now. Just so I can get a better paint job going on the face. Even though he's wearing a balaclava and a whole bunch of other stuff, you're not going to see a lot. And he's going to get goggles over his eyes anyway. But I'd like to try drilling those out and tinting them. So, please fit. Oh, I'll have to cut his feet off. Excellent. We'll probably cut him off at the knees anyway. There we go. Okay, what are we hitting here? Or do I need to put a different figure there because he's just not working that way? He almost works there. I could put stowage or something under him. Or like that. Either way, it's okay if I cut his feet off. Yeah, something like that, maybe. We'll get the others assembled and see. Let's get binoculars assembled. You guys are quiet today. Yeah, he works there, doesn't he? I have yet to see a figure crew set, or a crew figure set, fit as it's supposed to. You usually have to do a little bit of modifying anyway. Stay together. Why aren't you staying together? There we go. Helps if I have you the right way. The hell was that? So on this, I'll probably leave his head off because I'm more concerned about getting the body and arms to work right. Can you guys hear me okay? Am I being too quiet? Nope, you can't hear me, or I'm not being too quiet. Yes, you must be more articulate in your verbiage. I should replace the binoculars with a big sandwich. Which will probably get them in just to keep the arms in place. Really? Come on. Problem is, I kind of have to do this while the arms are not fully set, so that way I can get it in his hands. I'm gonna need his head anyway, but I can't glue it on just yet. Because I want to make sure it seems like he's looking through them and he's not playing the harmonica. Close enough, I can bend and flex things if I need to. Now, let's see. Yep, that'll work right there. So those guys will work where they are. Put his head in the basket just so we don't lose it. The last guy will be the other guy who's just got his arms like that. He might work better here. Let's find out. If not, I'll have to find a different figure for Driver. Or if anything, seriously cut him down to size and have it so it's just his head and shoulders poking out. Which would suck, but it is what it is. Well, the detail's good on these mini art figures, but damn, they got flash. But I guess they are low pressure molded too, like the Ace kits. So I'll probably have to kneecap this guy too to get him to fit in the hole. We'll see. I'm not trying to get him to go down as far though, because this guy, he was almost at his elbow. So, other than being tired, y'all have a good day? Yeah, I hope to have the LAV on its wheels by the end of today. Not finished, but at least sitting on its wheels. I've got the coolers sliced and ready for printing. I hope this guy fits well. Because he's just like hanging out of his hatch. He's not doing nothing special. Come on. That just looks weird. How about you? You're driving, so how about you look around with the binoculars? Let's take off his feet. Just this guy looks really goofy now that I look at him. He's really made for an Abrams with a turret ring for the loader. Yeah, he doesn't fit here at all, and I just broke off that. Well, it wasn't really glued on to begin with. Yay. Not happy with him. Like, at all. May still keep him up here. How far can I get his shoulders through? Not very, even from the inside. Let's put together Map Dude and see what happens. Because if I can get Map Dude in the turret and he looks better, then I could put the guy with the binoculars down in the driver's hole. Does it make sense? No. Do they fit better? Yeah. Alright, this went from interesting to ear-hurting. I don't mind a little of the dubstep sound, but what they had it mixed with didn't work. Not for this mood, at least. To see where that arm rests naturally, then put the weapon under it. Well, that didn't go right. Could have sworn I cleaned that. Today is a very quiet evening, though, isn't it? Oop. Really? Come on. Stick to where you need to go. So let's get binoculars out of this hole. Because he seemed to almost fit okay down here. Like he's leaning on the periscopes. We know the only place this guy can be is at least on a hatch. And this guy... And I think that can work. Yeah, I think that can work. How does this guy fit over here compared to that? Doesn't matter really, but I think with the map in hand, he'll interfere with the guy here, so he will probably be best this side. Then hatch dude, and then dude with binoculars up front. Okay. That works for me. So, weird arm dude, you're going over here for now. Gimme! 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 Come on, there we go. Stop it with that. So yeah, we're gonna let these guys dry. Let me get Binocular's head out of the basket. Might as well glue that in place too. I'll leave the top of his helmet off so I can get down into his face at least. Okay. can save this guy for something else. These sprues can stay here because they go with these guys. That goes over here. Okay. So let's start dusting things a bit. Actually, where is that tan primer? No. So, mission models having a weak bonding strength might actually come in handy now. Especially if I can thin it out a lot. What the hell? Something's not right there, so I need this. There we go. Yeah, the only thing I did after the stream yesterday is I went in and that was lucky. I took care of some of the smaller details like the taillights, the windows, and headlights turn signals. Get some pictures up real quick. Now there's some pictures of this thing where it looks like the whole thing's been repainted tan because of the amount of dust on it. We're not going that far. We're going for dusty, but you can still make out the color of the vehicle through it. Okay. I'm getting a pretty good idea what I want to do. Okay, let me thin this crap out a little bit. A little bit more, I should say. And from the looks of it contrasted against the real vehicle, this is about the best color you could want. Fucking phone. Okay. Yeah, nice thick grayish color. Where was I? I was checking in on something real quick before I started this. And keep in mind, this is just the base, foundational tones. So we're not going to go radically heavy. We're going to allow some of the washes that we're going to put in to kind of do the work too. But this is just to recreate the overall dusting that it would have. One moment, please. If you notice, I kind of carried it back up the side of the vehicle a bit more as I went further back. Because the dust will swirl around behind it, but not completely occlude it, right? Same thing up here. Just a really light pass. And with the paint I use by Mission Models, I've discovered I've had difficulty getting them to stick very well, so if they get wet again, they tend to streak and run a little bit. I'm going to kind of use that to my advantage. Don't want it to do that. That means I had a little blob dry on the tip. Just the tip. It's kind of like the hairspray method without the hairspray. Okay, and with that, since I had a little blob burst out again, going on. This particular paint's always been a pain in the ass. Even when I tried painting Deep Space Nine with it. I'm barely dusting it, as you can see there. And the top of the turret just a little bit. Especially in the back of it. There. Okay. And now the fun stuff will begin. Oh wait, nope. We gotta do the tires. Now these will be almost covered in that. Not too worried about the tread overall because we're going to be treating that a bit differently. But at least the front and back faces. Am I even on camera? I have been, yay! Wait, that's... There we go. Now we can clean this crap out of the airbrush and get on with the fun stuff using the Vallejo washes. And I know it's starting to get a bit scatterbrained at this point, but I'm kind of playing around with ideas on what I want to do with this in terms of setting. And tonight's stream might be short, dinner's going to be ready soon, but I wanted to do something on this and move it forward, and I wanted to get it into the habit again. I know I've been saying it, and I've been trying to do my best to do it, but this is all part of getting back in the habit of streaming after work. You know, working through how tired I am, and getting back into the habit of doing this again. I'd like to think I'm starting to do it more frequently, but I don't know. So let's just get this brush damp. Actually, we'll use a different brush, because I want to see something. Okay, just a little bit of old paint water. And I want to see if it really will get that moving around some. Maybe it needs to be a bit wetter. Looks like it might be doing something. It is. So I can actually get these glued on. Because everything else we're going to do is going to be, I can get in behind them with brushes and stuff. But just for this effect to be uniform, I needed the vehicle, I needed the wheels off the vehicle. Nice and square, that's good. rotate you more. There. So is that even curing? There we go. Square enough. Let's use a little of what I got left of the accelerator. Yeah, that's about as true as I'm going to get them. I'll do another short tonight showing the steps now that we got it up on its wheels. The one I put up last night seemed to do really well. So for all you out there watching the shorts, thank you very much. Really? That... It's not what I had in mind, but... Oh. Play along, I guess. The axle snapped off the wheel. Sorry I'm not working directly in camera on this. Okay. But it's lined up. Unless an old Marine wants to buy this off me, I'm not going to be too worried about being perfect. Hey Zluma, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. I'm alright. Just trying to get these wheels on. Thank you. Yeah, I'm still getting things sorted out on Kick, so I don't have the alerts up and running fully yet. Okay. Yeah, we're working on it. We're just starting the weathering and wear. We're not going to get too crazy. We're going to keep it realistic looking. Ah. Okay. There we go. And it's pretty square. I'll let the super glue... Actually, did I set up a donate link on here? Let me look. Let me go to my channel. Yeah, if you scroll down, you'll see a picture of Rappi. It says support and supplies. Let's see where that goes. it goes to a Stream Elements link that doesn't work. What the hell? Yeah, it says site not working. I'll have to edit that. Are you on Twitch at all, or are you just on Kick? Wow, I need to really clean that camera. Hold on. Let me... Aha! Let me do something here real quick. No. Remove. Sure. Oh, you're blocked in Twitch? Why are you blocked in Twitch? It won't let me delete it either. Yeah, I'll edit it later. Because it basically just goes to a PayPal donation link. I was going to see if I could get you that. Let me go over to Twitch real quick, and I'll just put it in chat. How's that? Okay, one moment. No wonder I haven't been getting much. It's not working on either side. Then how is Alex able to do it then? Okay, something else to fix. Yeah. No, I know you didn't do anything. Just being a smart aleck. Yeah, I gotta find out what's going on there. Just, no, this is important now because this shouldn't be happening. It worked the other day. Yeah, it should be active. Yeah, I'll have to do this afterward because I'll need my wife's information for some of this. But thank you very much. Where were we? Yeah, I'll get that fixed and we'll have that back up and running tomorrow, I hope. Okay, so what I want to do is find what the heck I need first. No. No, you're not bothering me at all. You helped identify a place that I needed to address an issue. So, no, not a bother. Or how do they say in the UK? Not a sausage. Okay. So we got the Vallejo sand and dust, desert dust wash. A bit warmer in tone. So what I hope it'll do is it'll actually warm up what I'm putting it on. But we're going to flow this over the tread for the tires, which is why I didn't paint them. Because I want it to stand out on the darker surface of the tire. Yeah, every now and again Stream Elements disconnects like that, so thank you for identifying that. And the same thing with the hubs. We know it's going to collect on the grit and grime and grease. We're going to start with the dust in here. And then as it dries, we're going to go back and put in a layer of oiled earth. So it looks like the hubs have leaked, or they've been lubed recently and the oil and grease has just kind of collected the dust and dirt and changed the color. But I'm starting out with this because I want the majority effect to be a dusty, whitish yellow color. Even in the training areas around here, there's one time, old apartment I used to live at had a truck transporting an M113 on the back. And it had the same color dust on the road wheels and the tracks and everything else. And it's really all about how it contrasts with the base camouflage, too. Went too far into the bottle on that one. And it looks like I'm going pretty heavy with this stuff. When it dries, it'll be really, really light, almost invisible, to the point where I might actually have to go back and give it a second coat. And you can see how the texture paste I put on beforehand is starting to work a bit. When it's done, it'll look like a lot more dried mud instead of thick stuff. It's alright. The wheels I printed out myself. Do you work on any models at all? Figures, Warhammer? Anything? So this wheel, I'm not going to go too high up with the wash. I'm just going to let it kind of creep up the tread, because this is more just dust that's settled on it as they've been driving down the road. So I'm going to give this one a bit more gingerly coating. Well, that's why I'm doing it. You can see how it's kind of starting to come together. Get it out of the shadow of the camera. Where did I put my... Okay. Now, I don't want to set this down like that, because everything will run down. I don't want that just yet. Can I rest it on its side? Yeah, I can. There. And this is where it gets slow, because you got to kind of let it settle a bit and dry before you go moving it around too much. Or else you'll just wind up slinging everything all over the place. But let me grab something, and I'll show you kind of what the end result is going to be. So be right back. This is a Humvee I built not too long ago. But you can kind of see how it's settling on that. I didn't go as dusty with it. but you can kind of see how the grime sets on the tires and such. Maybe I'll put the infantry guy with that, because he's got his radio. Like he's screaming at somebody for something. But I am going to be slathering this here and there on a lot of the model. Probably switch out to a finer brush here once I get to the detailed areas. That's kind of what we're trying to emulate. Okay. Yeah, I think that's settled enough. I can put it on the other side. Okay. It depends on what you want to start with. The best advice really is don't expect results like this. I've been doing this since I was 10, maybe even younger. I just remember one of the first models I did was about 10 years old that I did myself. Really proud of it, but I knew where the issues were with it, but I was 10, you know? Get the basics down first. Just get good at gluing and assembling and just making things neat, you know? If you start out with something you want to paint, be sure you just get the right colors in the right places and just make it look nice and neat, right? Once you feel comfortable with where you are in that, like you can relatively, you're always going to screw up. That's the other thing. You're always going to screw up, but don't think screw-ups are bad things. You learn from screw-ups in this hobby. You know, you learn not to use too much glue. You learn not to use paint so thick. Everything's a learning experience. Don't be afraid to screw up. Don't be afraid to try something new. But that said, considering it's not the kind of hobby where you can go down to the corner store with $5 and come home with 3 monogram kits like we used to be able to, start simple, start easy. Armor's a good place to start because a lot of times there's almost always an option to do a single color paint scheme. So with that you can learn applying the paint and, you know, how things should work. You can learn the materials and you can learn model kits as you're going. You know, don't worry about photo etch parts, don't worry about resin parts or any of that stuff. Just start easy and go from there. Build your skill set, build your confidence, and, you know, it doesn't take 30, 40 years to get to this point. It's just how long I've been doing it, right? And that's where I'd start. I wouldn't really care. I wouldn't say care. I wouldn't worry about being extraordinarily good. Just work on something that makes you happy. Right? And I've got too much activator on there, so it is making my wash. See, I just had a little mistake. I still have activator on here for the super glue, so it's making the wash do weird things. So I'm just going to let that dry up normally, and we'll work on some other area. And I think that's one thing a lot of model builders don't really talk about when they talk about, you know, beginning the hobby is, you know, allow yourself to mess up. Everybody's like, I have to have, you know, this perfect museum grade quality when I'm starting. You're not gonna. You're gonna have hairs in your models. You're gonna have seams. You're gonna have a lot of stuff. But don't ever think that your model's not good because it's not like somebody else's, like somebody that you're aiming for in terms of the target. There you go. Look for things that you like, that interest you. Exactly. But yeah, just don't get disillusioned because, say you build the same model from Trumpeter and yours doesn't look like mine. There's a bunch of reasons it won't. I 3D printed the wheels. I added some stowage, you know. I changed a couple things. Nothing too radical. It's basically out of the box overall. But just because yours doesn't look exactly like mine doesn't mean you've done a bad job. You've just worked within your skill level. And I think a lot of people, when they start with this hobby, they kind of get disillusioned in it because a lot of what I'm doing is easy. You know, it's once you understand what's going on, it really is easy. But it's learning to understand how the paints work, how to make light and shadow work. You know, there's a whole bunch of different things. It is all about experience. And I am, at least I don't think I am by any means perfect in this, you know. Other people would beg to differ, but personally, no, there's people that I consider better than me out there. If you watch videos by a creator on YouTube named Night Shift, he does stuff that I think makes my stuff look like crap. But other people see my stuff and they say it looks just as good. It's really all up to the viewer in that case. Oh, hardly. My work is adequate or satisfactory. But I also have a different look that I'm going for. A lot of other people go for a more heavily weathered feel, where I tend to not, unless it's very specific. I have a look I go for, and I try and get it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. If I don't, I keep working at it until it's a little bit better. But it's really a lot about simulation. Like, you're simulating dirt and dust and wear. Because you know you can't take this thing out into the middle of the desert and drive it, you know? At least not until somebody comes out with a good RC version. Then yeah, I could. And overall, these are generally pretty well kept. The only time they really look like garbage is after an extended period of time in the field. And I'm not going for that extended look. I'm going for what you could almost call an artistic version of it. No, you don't need a 3D printer. I just happen to have one because I do a lot of scale figures and stuff like that too. But yeah, I like how it's starting to look. You can see how it's starting to come together and look more realistically dusty, not like I just airbrushed it with dust and called it good. Because the way this is working is I'm simulating the dust that sticks to the surface of something, right? Like you go up to a truck that has been just driving around on a dusty road, and you can write in the windshield, you know, wash me. That kind of dust, that nice even layer. But then I'm also doing the other layers, like, okay, what if that truck looked that dusty, but the day before it rained? So the rain caused a lot of that dust to gather around the light assemblies and the handles and the latches, and it caused it to streak and run. And then after it dried out, it drove down the road again. So you'd have that extra layer. And that's kind of what I'm trying to go for here, is not just a single layer of it drove down a road, but it's been down that road a few times for a few weeks, and it's rained, and it's had dew and wind, and people have climbed on it. You know. It's not something that's going to be done in one day. But that's the kind of stuff I think about when I'm doing this. It's like, where is all this stuff gonna accumulate? Where's it gonna run to? Kinda, yeah. And you can kind of just play with it in your head too. It's like, what story am I gonna tell this week? God, I sound like Bob Ross with that. Like, one thing I'm gonna try really quick. I didn't think of it, but now I just did. So, like, I sprayed an even coat of the dust over the top here, right? I used a really crappy brand of paint. But I've learned to work with it. So let's see what happens when I scrub it. I tried water. Water wasn't strong enough. Let me scrub it with a little bit of Windex. Let's see. Really lightly, though. I don't want to scrub the underlying paint off, because I know it will react. Yeah, you can see how it's kind of taking it off the top of the non-slip texturing. And it'll be a little bit darker than the surrounding area. Like somebody's grabbed that hatch and opened it a few times. So there's not as much dust in it, or it's been worn in differently. Let's try here, like somebody climbed up here. And I can always fix this by adding more dust back in later. If I don't like what it does. And it might just break up the dust that's on there just enough for it to feel a bit more natural, because I think in some places it does feel a bit too even. So you can kind of use the brush to scrub it and stipple it. There we go. You see what it did right there just now? Let's dry off the brush. Let's suck up a little bit of the excess. Nothing old. I can direct you to my YouTube channel, same name. And I've got a bunch of my shorts on there. They'll show off some of my other work, a lot of my figures and stuff like that. I'm just now trying to get back into the 35th scale military stuff. Partly because I feel it's been a bit oversaturated in some circles. And I'm trying to get at it from an angle where it's not World War II German. I don't want to do that. That's too... That feels too easy to me. Okay, that's it for that music. Yes. Okay, there we go. That's the streaking I wanted. Because this thing is amphibious as well. Oh, no worries. I'm actually probably going to end stream. We've reached a pretty good stopping point here, and my dinner's ready, so I have to go eat. But I will be back on tomorrow, probably a little bit earlier in the day. I got off work kind of late today, so... But I'm trying to get back in the swing of things in terms of my streaming schedule and frequency. Lately, it's just been 2 days a week. Typically, either Sunday or Monday and Friday. It's going to change a bit coming up, but look for me most afternoons after 3 o'clock, if that helps. Like right now, it's 7:21 my time. Oh yeah, I will. I'll get that taken care of before I go to bed tonight. But yeah, this is going exactly where I want it to right now, so I'm liking that. Probably throw a little more brown in there after it dries. So, yeah, but thanks for coming and thanks for following. Yeah, it's been almost 2 hours. That's not bad for an evening stream for me. I typically go for about 3 hours anyway. Slowly kind of working back up into it. A lot's happened in recent years, so. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you for the follow. Thanks for everybody else who's out there. And I'm going to do my best to be on, I want to say by 4 p.m. tomorrow, my time. So right now it's 7:22. So subtract 3 hours and wherever you are, and that'll be the time I'll hopefully be starting. We'll do more work on this, and I'll